One of the things I've got is an education strategy, because I don't think we're actually teaching our young adults in London the things and the skills that are going to help them get jobs at the end of the day. So the third bit of my three-point strategy is looking into, can we actually give kids more experience, more skills in the jobs that are going to be available. So things like the creative media, technology, real computing skills.
A lot of the youth are unemployed now because they didn't get the grades and qualifications they needed in school and have the skills that the employers are looking for. But one very simple thing that the Mayor can do is that any contracts that are awarded to a big business can have a clause in them whereby a certain percentage of the employees must be on an apprenticeship programme, and that's what I would do.
It's not that young people aren't qualified. I, until a couple of weeks ago, was the editor of the Guardian Weekly, Guardian's International Edition. Every week I had people with 1 or 2 master's degrees, 3 or 4 languages, begging to come and work to me for nothing for 6 months. Or however long it takes them, a week, 6 months, whatever. There's huge numbers of young people out there who can't get the first foothold in the ladder.
Identified 200,000 jobs, many of which will be for young people in London, which will be created as a direct result of the investment that's going into, in many cases, transport infrastructure in London, many of which will be put at risk if the estimated £1.2 billion of funding that a 7% cut in fares would take out TfL's budget, those jobs would be put at risk.
The other thing is the Mayor has enormous planning powers and can use his Section 106, his legal planning powers, to require that new developments like Westfield, that, for example, offer local training schemes to target areas of high unemployment. So there's actually an awful lot we can do here. And I think the Olympics has been a great initiative, but sadly I don't think we've got the best value from the Olympics in terms of the construction work for the local communities, because you've got to be on the case. But there's a lot that the London Mayor can do on this.
Fortunately, as far as Ken Livingstone's promised to reinstate educational maintenance allowance, he's not actually said that. He's actually said he's going to put pressure on local authorities to come up with it, and I don't think that's going to happen. What we have to make sure is that business and education work together to make sure that young people have the skills that businesses need to make them more employable, and we need to help particularly small and medium-sized enterprises. That is the area where there has been a growth in jobs in recent years. That is where we have to make sure that the banks lend to those businesses to create the jobs for our young people.
I was asked before about Jenny's diary. I'm afraid I'm not a keeper of Jenny's diary. I'm quite confident that she has been to cultural festivals, although I can't speak to it actually. I can mention that she did actually, she spent some time at Occupy, as did I, and that's, was an interesting example of the vibrancy and political life of London that we certainly spent some time at. I think, life shouldn't be all work. In fact, we spend far too much time working as it is. Green Party believes that we should have a 35-hour working week and possibly look at cutting it down beyond that. We also
believe... The Mayor's diary is unbelievably congested, shockingly congested, and it wouldn't be possible to go to all the festivals that go on in London. And as I say, partially that's a reflection of how congested the Mayor's diary is, but partially I think it's a very positive indication of how vibrant the cultural sector in London is. There is so much going on in London that it just wouldn't be possible for any one individual to go to all these things.
We know, unfortunately, from history that what happens in very difficult economic times is that people pick on minorities, and to have a mayor that actually attends different celebrations, different faiths, different communities around London is very important. It sends a very clear message that the mayor is or is not supportive of different communities and supportive of different faiths. But what I'm not talking about is big set-piece festivals in Trafalgar Square, which are emblazoned with Mayor of London all over them, that are purely there, like Ken Livingstone did when he was in power. What we should be supporting is local festivals where they're important, where local communities are concentrated, and the Mayor should be going to all over London, not just the festivals in Trafalgar Square.
mask, it would be just stop me. I mean, why would you not want to go
Exactly.
please? You know, it's all about people. That's what the mayor should be about, and that's exactly where they should be spending their time. So not only would I go to the ones that currently exist, but I'd put in place the funding frameworks to have as many more as we possibly could. So absolutely.
I can fully understand that the mayor is an extremely busy role, and he's not going to be able to get, he or she's one, is not going to be able to get to each and every event that takes place, but there should be certain key ones that he does put in his diary. Absolutely.
Festivals and events are one of the things that make London really a great place to live. And it's important for our social cohesion, and good community relationships, and for the economy, because we attract lots of visitors and tourists. So I think the mayor has to, you know, on the one hand, try and attend what he can, and diaries are difficult, but you know, every mayor ought to try and attend. It's part of leadership, but also have a proper cultural strategy for London, and strategically support a variety of festivals and events.
I think what we have to do is we have to promote what we have in common, our humanity, and focus on that rather than highlighting the differences between us.
I agree with all of that. I attended the Peace Symposium in Merton last week, and which was all about bringing different faiths together, you know, to highlight the similarities, not the differences. So I think if we could roll that out on a London-wide basis, that would be absolutely brilliant. The simple thing the mayor could do is not insult faiths and not insult groups. That's a very easy, simple thing that any mayor should be able to do.
What I would add is I live in Somers Town, which is between King's Cross and Euston stations, and we do have some tensions in our community, and they basically arise from the young people who are often living in overcrowded housing, who have no activities to do, lots of the youth funding's been cut back, and so the tensions aren't really necessarily truly in faith. They're tensions from groups of people whose communities are put under tremendous strain.
Rather than concentrate on what makes us different, we need to concentrate on what makes us the same, because we are all one in London here.
I think using City Hall as either a physical or a virtual kind of meeting place for faiths in London is really important, and recognising the incredibly important work that faith communities do in all kinds of elements of society, from faith helping on people.
James, thank you. Val?
Yeah, I think that, I think you're already Chief Executive of the Interfaith Forum, aren't you? There is an awful lot of really good work going on, and I think it is for the mayor to often get behind good organisations and help support partnerships. But I think it's also about us finding those things we all agree on together. As Natalie talked about youth unemployment as a big issue, I think there's a lot of things we can all agree on together, and we can work on across faiths and across communities, preventing knife crime, having a good offer for our young people should be part of that.
Val, thank you. Because of the time, I'm afraid that we don't have enough time for the individuals, the candidates, to give closing remarks. But if I could just ask everyone to give a round of applause for everyone who's been